welcome to the channel. I'm Summer. Today's video is a tutorial for a do-it-yourself ponytail bob haircut. I recently just did a stylist version of this cut, and I love to give you guys a DIY option as well that you can do on your own at home or with a friend. This is going to be a total of 5 ponytails, so very easy. We're going to be going over our goal with this cut, who it works best for, and comparing it to the stylist version side by side to see which cut we think looks best. I cannot wait to share this with you guys and hear your thoughts. With that being said, let's get started. All right, so I want to show you guys her hair dry first. This is the same exact mannequin that I used for the stylist version, so they're about as even as they can get for a starting point. We are going to obviously be bringing up the length. It is long, so we're going to be taking it up, right about into that shoulder length, but we're going to be coming down to create that slight angle. I'm going to mimic this exactly how I cut the other one, so it's not like your traditional classic A-line bob. It's going to be a little bit more modified, but we do have a little bit of breakage through this side face frame area. So like I did with the other one, I don't want to over layer this because I don't want to accentuate any sparseness we may have. As you can see, this side part here, it's very thin. We have some breakage. This is a very light mannequin, so I'm going to be making note of that as I cut the hair. This cut is really ideal for any and all hair types, but if you are somebody who has specifically fine or thinner hair, this type of bob is going to be a great haircut for you because it's going to really add a lot of thickness and fullness to the hair. You're going to have a nice slight stack in the back that helps accentuate that fullness, and it's also very easy to maintain as far as blow dry goes for any hair type, but it's nice because it's shorter, but we don't have a lot of layers, but we still have enough movement. So I'm going to go ahead and get her hair washed, and then we will get into our ponytails. Okay, so now that she's washed, we are going to just spray a little bit of leave-in conditioner. This is Kenra's Daily Provision. It's a very lightweight leave-in conditioner. This was recommended to me actually from viewers, and I love a lot of Kenra's products, but they are a brand I forget about. So I'm just going to get her detangled. Very nice, easy comb through, and we are going to be parting on the side, which I know you all love. So she was naturally already the way she was designed, parted over here. So I'm just going to mimic that. And it is best to, if you are a side parter, you always want to cut it with it parted where you wear your hair. If you're somebody who flip-flops your part back and forth, you're going to want to cut it down the middle. And I will link another tutorial. I believe I have one where I do it down the middle, so I'll leave that linked below. But we are doing a side part today. All right, so now that we have her combed out, we are going to get into our ponytails. I like to do the cutting on wet hair. I just feel like you get the most accuracy. You're able to pull nice, even tension. The hair stays grouped together a little bit more. And then after it's dry, we can go in and tweak anything we need to, but I just find that it's better to do it on wet hair. So again, this is mimicked after how I cut it for the stylist version. And so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna separate right at the ear to separate the back and our sides. And we're gonna comb this back. Now, because this is a ponytail haircut, I do have to already start taking my sections with how I'm doing some layering in the front. Now, like we said when the hair was dry, this front section, I'm a little concerned with layering it too much. So the same as I was with the other version. And all I did was, because I know I'm gonna want a little bit of layering in this back section of the sides. So all we're gonna do is come at a diagonal. So you're gonna come up a little bit closer. So her crown is right here. We're split back behind the ear. So what you're gonna do is you're going to diagonal it up. Let me turn her so you can see a little bit better. You're gonna have your comb at the end of the ear, behind the ear, and almost move it diagonally forward. So you're gonna take your section that's up here and just diagonal that back. And then just comb that hair back. So you have a little bit of a curve. If you're worried about taking too much hair, we can leave a little bit more on top, but that'll still create some nice layers through the side. So it's just a very slight diagonal. I don't want you to like overthink it and feel like it has to be this extreme diagonal shape, but just ever so slightly is it at a diagonal. So this is gonna make up ponytail 1. And before I make my ponytail, I'm just gonna clip this out of the way, and we're gonna come on the other side and do the same thing. So what you can do is follow from your other part that you had here, and you're just gonna do the same and go back at a slight diagonal behind the ear. Now I've come a little bit too far back behind the ear, so we're just gonna lightly adjust that. There we go. And again, it's just a very slight diagonal. So what that allows for is typically, where if this were the in-salon stylist version, I would be coming straight up behind the ear, and all of this hair here that's in front of my comb would be brought forward. So it's just very, very little hair that's gonna make for enough of our layers. So we can clip this hair back, and now we're going to create our ponytails in the side perimeters. So these front pieces are going to make up where we start creating that angle slightly that's going towards the front. So all I'm gonna do, you can use the wide side of your comb, the fine side, whatever you're comfortable with. You could also even use a wet brush if you want. You're just gonna comb that down, get it nice and smooth as possible. You want it nice and flat. And we are going to take our ponytail and just sort of keep the center of your ponytail right in the middle of this section. So you can move it around after you get it tied. I'm just using these little baby elastics, and you're gonna come in, keep that nice and flat, and just tie into place. And you want it to be up nice and close. We're not leaving the ponytail like lower. We're gonna push this up further. So with the hair nice and flat, we're just gonna pull the hair taut, fanning it out to lift that ponytail so it's nice at the base of our section here. So keep it as flat as possible, and you're just gonna tighten that up, and you want it as much in the middle of the section as possible. So that is ponytail number 1, and now we're gonna come around to the other side and do the same thing. So let's comb this down nice and tight. You can slightly over direct this hair back, but mostly it's more so straight down. There's obviously a slight over direction with the way we tie the ponytail, but nice, smooth and flat. Take your elastic. And again, if you have some hairs popping up, just comb them back down into place. And we're gonna tie it same as we did. And once you have that secure, flatten it out, and you're just gonna lift that headband, that hair tie, by fanning the hair out a little bit up to the base of your section. So here we have ponytail 1 and 2 done for our front sections. And now we're gonna move into the back. So we're gonna just do this in 3 sections through the back. Again, with the idea in mind of how I cut the Stylist version with the way that I did the layers. So these are gonna be more long layers where they're very subtle, but we still create a good amount of shape. And all we're gonna do is we're basically gonna come just right above the ear here for our top section, and you're gonna go all the way around the head. So just barely above the ear for section 1. Section 2 is going to be from the tip of the ear to basically the base of the ear, and then we'll have our 3rd section. So I'll show you guys. We're gonna start here, tip of the ear, just above it. I'm using a foiling comb because you can just get a nice clean line. And we're gonna work our way around and just follow your lines. All right, there we go. So we have a nice line that goes all the way around. You want it to be as straight and in line as possible to get the most evenness. So you always want to come around and check it. I need to take up just a tiny bit more right here, or you could drop it on the other side. I'm going to take just a tiny bit more and just come all the way around. So that looks good to me. And we're going to comb all this hair up. I'm gonna switch back to my regular comb. So you wanna lift that hair, get it nice and smooth, same as the sides. You don't want any like bubbles in the hair as far as like the hair grouping together or not like laying smooth and flat. So really make sure you are working the hair around with your comb or your brush. And all we're gonna do is tie this in place at the crown. You want it center of the head, but we're gonna be right in this crown region, so either just above it. You don't wanna be lower down. We wanna be able, this is going to be what creates our layers, and I would be pulling them out like this to cut, so that's what we wanna keep in mind with when we place our ponytail. So we're gonna grab our elastic, and you wanna be center of the head. I'll turn her in just a second. And you're just gonna tie that into place. And then once it's in, again, we're gonna tighten that back up. You can move it up higher if you need to by pulling the one side up if you feel like you're too low. And then you wanna check the back. If you are doing it by yourself, you wanna use a mirror, or it goes easier with a friend. This is a very easy haircut to have, like your mom, sister, whoever, girls' night in, cutting hair, to go over it. But you want it to be center of the nose as much as possible. So I need to move it over a little bit more. So all I'm gonna do is take it and just pull it over. And now we are good with our first section. And I'm just gonna clip this forward out of the way so I can take our fourth section. And then this is nice and easy. So you're gonna sort of feel with the head and right at the curve of the occipital bone here, which is usually in the ear region, we're just gonna do the same thing where we take a parting line. You want it nice and even. So again, feel with the head, and right at that curve is where you're going to take your part. So it's before you kind of fall into the nape, you want to be just lightly above it. And again, try to keep your line as straight and clean as possible. And then again, comb it nice, tight, and clean. Make sure those sides are smooth. So blend with your comb if you need to. I find that the fine side of the comb really works well in here. And this, we're going to just be tying it almost the same as what we did on the sides. It's coming out a little bit here, but for the most part, it's sort of flat on the head. So we're not like lifting it straight out, we're kind of bringing it down slightly. And that's because when we cut bobs, we usually bring the hair, we're combing it down, but it's out slightly at an angle to create that rounding shape. So that's what I'm trying to tie it in a similar way I would hold the hair for when I do the stylist version of the cut. The hardest part of these haircuts is getting the ponytails in place. It's the most time-consuming aspect. So once the ponytails are in place, it's usually a much faster breeze. So we're gonna grab our hair tie. Again, make sure this is nice and smooth. I find out of all the sections of the ponytail, this one's a little bit, probably the most challenging. Come in. Grab the hair, and we're going to tie it into place. And then once that's there, we're just going to slide that up, get it nice and smooth on the hair. So you have this coming down a little bit here, but nice and flat on the head. Again, we've tied to the base like we did the sides, where this one got over directed up. And again, you want it to be as much in the center of the head as possible. And again, you can adjust it by, if you need to move it to the left, pull it on the left side. If you need to move it to the right, pull it on the right side. But I think it's looking good here. And then I'm gonna, again, clip this out of the way for our final ponytail, which this one is nice and easy. We're just gonna comb this straight down, smooth that out. It's going to be similar to the sides in that top, this one here, because this is going to be our perimeter and first stack line. So I want to smooth out again here because I had a little bit of bunching. So we're just take the comb, smooth it out, and again, we're going to tie it as close to the middle as possible. And once you have your elastic in, we're just gonna pull this hair flat and tight and move that up to connect it nice and close to that hairline. And again, make sure it's as centered as possible. All right, so there we have our 5 ponytails. Again, this is the most challenging part of the cut. So I'm gonna spin her to show you guys. We've got our top ponytail here, our side section. We have a middle one, the bottom one, and then our other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now that we have that done, we are gonna hop right into cutting. So I am going to pull this top ponytail and the middle one, and we're just gonna clip them up out of the way because we don't want to cut that hair yet. And we're gonna start off with our bottom section. Make sure she's level. My stand never wants to stay level on both sides. It drives me crazy. So we are obviously bringing this up quite a bit of length. In this first ponytail, we're gonna cut it in actually 2 sections. One for the perimeter and then one to start creating that slight stack so we start getting that rounded shape. So all you're gonna do is instead of cutting this in one go, you're just gonna split this in half. So you're gonna come in at your side and just right in the middle, take the first half. We're just gonna push it right up. So again, I'll show you Here, you're just gonna grab, you can use a clip. I have a foil comb here. Flatten that out. You're gonna come just right in the middle of the section and split that in half. And this hair is going to get clipped up out of the way. And now you will cut your perimeter guideline. And you don't want to like clip this up where you're altering the ponytail. You want to be able to keep the ponytail flat, so don't over like lift it where the ponytail is lifted. Just lightly get it out of the way. So we're going to come in with our comb now, and we want this to be just above the neckline. This is going to give us more wiggle room for when it grows out. If you're, I said this in the other one, if you are somebody who gets your hair cut like every 5 to 6 weeks on the dot, you can go with leaving it longer because you're getting it cut more often. But if you are somebody who only goes to the salon maybe 2 or 3 times a year, you might want to go a little bit shorter just so you have a longer time of the grow out period. Because my length, I'm going to grow my hair out, but where my length is right now, I'm about to hit that flip stage where it's just a pain in the butt. So if I wasn't growing it out, I would have already had a haircut. So we're going to come in just right here above the neckline, and we're just going to cut it straight across. So you can use a wide side of your comb, thin side, whichever you're comfortable with, and we're just going to cut. So let that fall, take a look, feel it out. This is going to give us plenty of room on the sides to angle into. We'll have a nice shape here, but it's not too short, not too long. So now that we've done that, you just want to check that length one more time, make sure you're even. I can see the tiniest hair here poking out underneath, and that fell out on its own. We're now going to cut our second part of this ponytail, and this is what's going to be creating our slight stack. So all you're going to do is similar to how I would do in salon. We're going to take this out at a slight angle where we're pulling it towards us. And you're going to come out and just slightly move past that guideline. And I'm going to choose to point cut it. You could blunt cut it. I'll show you how you can soften this in just a second. But what that allows for is it to go from longer to a little bit shorter underneath. So this is going to curve just ever so slightly. So it's just barely longer. You can hopefully see that right there. This hair is so light, just barely longer. And that's what we want, just to create that slight stack feel. So we're gonna do the same similar motion here, flatten this back out if you need to. And I'm gonna work in the same type of sections just to keep it nice and clean. I feel like when you move in the sections within the ponytail cut, you just get to where it stays a little bit more cleaner in shape. You can see your guide a little bit better, and you're gonna do the same thing. This is gonna get combed down, and again, we're gonna angle as if we were doing this in salon. So I'll show you from a side view here. You're grabbing your bottom ponytail and it's coming up slightly while you're combing the top one down, and you're gonna come to where your guide is. So just under that, and you'll cut it. So we're at just a very slight angle coming off of the head to help create that rounded shape. Grab the hair, we're combing straight down. I can feel that my guide underneath, it's right here. I come just barely below that and cut. We're gonna let that top one down. You're only just grab this section now and do the same thing. You're at just the very slightest angle, pulling it off of the head and cut. So this is gonna curve in really nice. This is a little bit shorter than these pieces, so you get that nice little roundness that's gonna create that whole bob feel. So now we're gonna come in and cut our layers on the top and our final ponytail for this back section. So we're gonna take this in 2 ways to cut it. We are first going to connect it to this bottom one by just bringing it down and cutting it. And then we're also going to be bringing it up to layer it more. So we have a little bit more movement and shape in here. So you're gonna grab your middle ponytail, and this is just gonna come down on top of it. And you're still angling out slightly, not crazy, but I can see through to my guide here and just cutting straight across there. And then now what we're gonna do is I'm actually going to soften. I'll actually wait to do that with thinning shears. I probably just confused you guys. All you're gonna do now, so this came down and it got met with the length, and again, it's still a little bit shorter here, so you're gonna have that nice flow. We're just gonna bring it straight up and we are going to angle it. So you're going to comb it nice and smooth to where you can see your longest hair at the top, and you're just gonna cut those layers in this section through here to create a little bit of shape and movement. Again, they're gonna be long layers. We're not removing like a ton of length within the layers themselves, just enough to get it to have some movement. So again, you're gonna come straight up. Let me lower her. Start smoothing that hair out. We're gonna come in and our knuckles are going up to the ceiling. I can see my longer hair here, and we are just gonna layer right into that to create a short to long layer. Go ahead and smooth it out again and just refine any hairs that might be poking out. But it's very, very simple. And then again, as you go to let that out, you're gonna go from short to long, and this is gonna just curve and flow really nice. Now, if you wanted to break this into 2 sections, again, like we did with some of the other ones to have more control, you certainly can do that. It'll give you a little tiny bit more layering. So as you can see here, by taking a smaller section, I could come in and remove just a tiny bit more hair on this bottom part. So you're just literally going from the bottom of your fingers, and you're angling up at an angle, connecting it to the longer piece on top. So all you would do is then grab the rest of that hair, and same thing, and then just blend that in. So just a little bit more here to soften and add just a tiny bit more shape to it. So nice and easy. Now we're gonna come in and just blend in our sides. We're gonna be creating that slight angle going forward. And this part is the easiest part, I would say, of the haircut, is cutting these side perimeters. It's just 2 simple ponytails. So all you're gonna do, you're gonna slightly direct this back, and you're gonna slightly direct this forward, and you're sort of gonna meet it in the middle. Now this, we probably will have to do some dry cutting on the sides. Usually like in this middle corner here, there'll be a couple hairs that poke out. But all you wanna do is connect these. And if you wanted to at first, actually, you can just pull this all the way back, and you're just gonna create an angle with your fingers. And we're gonna come down forward, and you're just gonna cut up at an angle. So this is gonna be fully off the shoulder here. It's still going to create a nice shorter to longer shape, but it will blend in nice. So again, we just took it, we directed it back, and we're just angling forward. So you can see, look at that shape going forward. We have a nice line here with our comb. When this hair gets come down, obviously we'll fill in the gap here, and we might need some dry cutting, we'll see. So I'm just gonna match that up on the other side. So you're gonna grab this hair. You're basically gonna bring this hair back and you're gonna create the angle with your fingers. So I've got my hair here and I'm just gonna drop my hands to angle down a little bit more. And I'm just gonna cut into that. So I did lose that guide there, but that's okay because we're angling down. We still have that angle. So it's not like you're coming straight to here and then cutting in your angle. You're gonna lose way too much length here and it's not gonna flow right. You just wanna sort of use your fingers as that guide to go from the shorter to longer point into that side. So I probably might need to take off more right in there, but I'm gonna check the perimeter first to the other side to give me an idea. So you would stand in front of your mirror and I actually think it's matching up pretty good. I might have to angle a little bit more once the hair is dry, we'll see. But bringing these forward to the center, I think they're matching up really actually well. If you feel like you need to do a little bit more angling, what you could do is comb this straight down and you can kind of fan it out a little with your fingers. But for now, I'm going to leave it. Again, we can cut more at it when it's dry and see how it's laying once it's styled. But we do still have a slight angle there in and of itself with that. And then obviously as we take this out, this hair is gonna come forward a little bit more. So last thing before we take out our ponies and get her dried, what I'm gonna show you is how you can soften up each section with your thinning shears. This is key for those of you who have like coarser hair or more maybe stick straight hair. A lot of times you can kind of get these hard lines, especially when cutting on your own or even with a friend. So all we're gonna do, we're gonna take our thinning shears. I will leave these linked below. And we're just gonna go in ponytail at a time. And we're just gonna slightly soften up those ends. You wanna come in at an angle with your shears. And as you close with your thumb, you don't wanna close with both fingers, just your thumb. You're gonna slightly glide that shear through the hair. And that's just gonna soften it up and help remove any like hard weight line that might be created when you're cutting the hair. So this is optional. I like to do it. You don't wanna go to town here, just very soft. Always go in at an angle. Try not to go in at it straight across, but just to soften that up a little bit. I'm not gonna do it on the sides just because the sides don't have as much hair. And we're just gonna soften that all up. Perfect. So now the fun begins. We're gonna take out our ponytails and I'm gonna actually blow dry her hair on camera. I did that my last video I filmed. So I need you guys in the comments to let me know if you want to always see the blow dries of these haircut tutorials. I'm gonna leave everything time-stamped. So if you don't wanna watch the blow dry, you can skip ahead to the final result in comparison, but please let me know in the comments if you guys enjoy seeing the blow dry, because I'm happy to include that. So as you can see, we shortened it up quite a bit. It's completely off the shoulders. And I'm gonna go ahead and just put just a little bit of a blow dry cream. This is just an anti-frizz cream from Way. And I'm gonna work that all through the hair. And then I will show you how I like to blow dry my bobs. And then in this blow dry process, we'll actually get to see in real time as we dry any mistakes that we might need to fix with our cut, which is always fun. So I always start off with a rough dry. I get the products in first, and actually you wanna comb them through once applied to the hair, just because it gets it everywhere from root to tip. And then we start off with our rough dry. So I like to do it with the concentrator nozzle on. And if you want volume, you're gonna lift up at the roots. If you want smoothness, you can work just straight down on the hair. But you never wanna go like against the grain of the hair. You never wanna blow dry up on it. That's gonna like blast out your cuticle layer. It's gonna cause you more frizz. So if you want to be lifting the hair for volume, just lift with your hands and place that dryer in because you're still going with the hair. And I like to rough dry for about 5 minutes before I move into my round brushing. So the key basically with your rough dry is you just want to get a lot of the moisture out of the hair. You don't want it so dry that you're now trying to fight against the hair that's already dry, especially if you have really frizzy hair. If you rough dry for too long and you allow that frizz to get like too frizzy, it's harder to remove it because it's sort of already set into place. So you're gonna have to use your flat iron maybe a little bit more. So you still want enough dampness in the hair that you can work it into the shape that you want. So we're just doing simple horseshoe sectioning. And I'm gonna use actually 2 different round brushes for this blow dry. So the reason for 2 brushes is with a bob, you are shorter in the back and it gets to be longer in the front. So these are quite similar in size, but this is just a tiny bit shorter. So we're gonna be able to get more roundness in the back. And I'm just gonna be doing a classic blow dry where I'm grabbing the hair, getting it set to nicely round it out and to create a little bit of volume and bend. So now that I have that bottom section, I'm gonna lower this. I'm gonna clip it, the top part out of the way just because this section is a little bit big to try to fit it all into the hairbrush. And now I'm gonna move in to my larger one just because this is a longer area. I'm gonna do the same motions. I'm lifting up a little bit to create some volume and we're just rounding it into the brush to create that nice rounded shape that we like to see with a bob. So guys, also something to note with when you're blow drying the hair, the smaller the brush, the more bend and bounce you're going to see through the hair. You also want to use a smaller brush depending on how long or short the hair is. But with a haircut this length, the bigger the brush, the smoother of a shape you're going to get. And the smaller the brush, the more like bend you're going to see. So that just comes down to personal preference. But I just wanted to make that note. And then obviously, if you have really long hair, you could even use a bigger brush than this. Look at that fluff. So I do like to, in the crown sections, really lift up extra for that bend, or I should say volume. It will create bend, but I really like to create a lot of height here. So I like to lift the hair straight up as much as possible. So we have just a little bit of hair left in these top sections. I'm gonna take this side that we're parted to into two to split it in half, just so I get the most control in the hair. If your sections are too big, you're gonna lose control of getting the shape that you want. And while a lot of times people think bigger sections, you move through the hair faster, that's sometimes true, but a lot of times it ends up taking longer because it takes longer to dry the section. So you want the section small enough that the heat can evenly get through all the hair to dry it in good time. But keep that in mind. And then I always blow everything back away from the face. And we're down to our final two sections, and then we'll get to see the side-by-side comparisons. So this hair that's right here in front of the face, I'm blow drying it directly back. So brush is on the back side of the hair. And I'm pulling it forward to create that volume, but we're gonna be letting it out away from the face. And I'm gonna do the same on the other side. All right, so now that the blowout is done, I'm going to grab my other mannequin before we do any dry cutting first, just so we can see what it looks like directly after a blow dry from the ponytail cuts to get a good idea of the pros and cons of both, and then we'll go through the cut and see what we do or don't need to do. All right, so here are our comparison mannequins. They look identical almost head on. So the purple is my Stylist version. I put a different cape on so we really can tell the difference. And then the black cape is the one we just cut in the ponytail methods. So from the front, I mean, they're literally almost identical. They look both great. We have nice fullness here through the front. Now in the sides and back is where we're gonna have some work to do. So I'm gonna turn them each so we can compare. We have on the Stylist version this nice, really good angle. We have a lot of fullness and roundness. We still have that in the ponytail cut. Actually, it came out more than I thought it would, but we obviously have some hair here that we need to cut that stemmed from that middle area of our ponytails coming back, but it's gonna be really easy to fix. But we still have this nice shape. Both of them look so good. And then we have our back. So again, we have the Stylist version, nice, fluffy, full. We have that nice shape through our layers. We get movement and bounce with it. We have movement still with our ponytail version, but we do have those pieces that we're gonna have to clean up. I like to show you guys the comparison right out the gate, so that way you know what you're getting into with the ponytails. You're still gonna have to critique and work at it, but it's definitely going to be salvageable. And then we have our final side here. And again, I mean, I really honestly, I think they both came out great. This just honestly has a little bit of cleaning up to do. I will say you do get a more defined stack with the Stylist version, but this is not bad considering this was 5 ponytails and it's gonna be easy for you guys to do at home with a friend on your own without maybe going to the salon, whatever your circumstances are. So I really think they came out good. I'm gonna do one final spin of them before we tweak, and then we're gonna fix up our ponytail version. Okay, so we are going to tweak our cut to perfection. I wanna make it clear with a ponytail cut, guys, these are not meant to be just quick 5-minute haircuts where you're just in and out. I'm not saying you can't, with some haircuts, do just a one big ponytail. That's definitely doable. But with a bob ponytail, you're gonna be putting some time in. So just be patient with it. Don't rush it. Don't expect it to, like, you know, be done in and out in 5 minutes. And always know that you're gonna have to come in and clean up some once it's dry. That's the same as in salon. I have been cutting hair for, it'll be 18 years in March, and I still always go in and I dry cut because you have to perfect it. A haircut is never done until it's cut dry. That's at least my motto. So this is gonna be easy though to clean up. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I don't want you to get to this stage and you have these sections and get overwhelmed and freaked out. It's very easy. We're gonna go in baby steps. So first we can just see our line here. It's nothing crazy. It's gonna be very easy to blend. We're just gonna come in to the back first. And really, if anything, you could come in and layer this up first. That might be the easiest way. So just come in, we can see this hair here. I can see my shorter pieces down here, and you're gonna layer it the same as you were with that back ponytail where you're bringing it up and we're cutting at an angle. So you'll take the hair, I'm gonna lower her actually, I feel like she's a little high. There we go. So we have this hair here. We're gonna come in with our first section and we're just gonna comb up like we're layering, and I can see all that hair right here. And we're gonna layer it the same, but I'm just point cutting slightly. Grab this hair, same thing. Come up, I can see where it's sticking out here. And just cut in. So you could go about it like that at first if you wanted to. That removed a lot of that length. And now what we're gonna do is just even this out a tiny bit more because we still have a little bit of length there that needs to be cut. So you're just gonna come in at the back here, and all you're gonna do is just match that in. So I see my front pieces here. I'm gonna hold my hands at an angle and just cut. You can point cut if you want to keep it soft. And just continue through that back. And that's coming out pretty good. I want to nick this corner just a tiny bit more, but quite honestly, if you're doing this by yourself, even with a friend, like, you could leave that. Sometimes, like, I'm a little bit neurotic with this stuff, so like I see it, but I don't know that really people would. So you could stop at this point, but if you wanted to come in and clean that up, you would just follow the line here. So you'd comb down, and it's just in that little tiny corner. You don't even have to section it off. Just comb down the hair and do a little bit at a time. But I think that that looks really good considering this was a ponytail cut. And now we're gonna come on the other side and do the same thing. And I'll show you if you wanted to do the length first and then layer, you're just gonna do the same thing. So instead of pulling this hair up and out first, we can come in and just connect it here. Nice and easy. Again, it's that little corner here. Got a little bit of hair poking out. So if you turn your head to the side, like angle it down, and comb down, you'll be able to see those baby hairs a little bit better. And then after that's done, you could come in and check the layer if you want. Just ever so slightly, some hair here. But very simple and easy. And then last thing, we're gonna check the back. In here, does this match up? Do we need any extra haircut? I really personally, I think it looks fine. It's a little longer right there. Yeah, just barely. So if you have someone stand behind you, poke at that. If you want, we can take a clip and just clip this hair out of the way so you can see, and it's just these guys right in there. I'm gonna tilt her head down a little bit. So with a bob, these little guys like to always poke out underneath. It's a dilemma. It's just the way the head is, and especially cutting on your own at home, it's very hard to like angle your head down and try to keep it longer, or shorter I should say, not longer. I think that looks good. And then we're gonna drop this piece down. And there's some longer hairs that you could come in and cut if you wanted. Again, it's all personal preference. Like I don't know that someone's gonna look at this and be like, oh, you have a, you know, jacked up bob. That looks terrible. So you could leave it. If you wanted to come in, you would just do the same way you did those sides. Come in like you're gonna grab a layer. I can see this hair right here, and you're just gonna blend that in. You don't have to overthink it. You know, just take your time and just grab the hair. Where you see that it's longer, grab it and pull it out, and you can see where there's extra length here. So I'm a little bit shorter right here, a little bit shorter there, so it's just right in this middle section. I don't want to like perfect it too much because it's quite hard to do it, you know, on your own or with a friend. It goes easier with a friend. So call over a girlfriend, have your husband do it, whoever, but it's a very doable haircut. So I'll give you guys one final spin now that it's complete, and we'll get you guys out of here. All right, here we have our finished and final look of our 5 ponytail DIY bob haircut. I love how this came out. We have lots of shape and movement. We have the look of that traditional bob. It was very easy to come up with, but take your time, have some patience. Remember, with the DIY, you're gonna have to go in and cut some after when it's dry. Just take your time. You can either do it by going in with those layers first or cutting the perimeter, whatever you are comfortable with. But I love the shape and movement we got as a whole with this cut. I think it came out really good, and I can't wait to hear what you think of it in the comments. Be sure to check out the Stylist version of it right here if you haven't already. I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.